The burden of loneliness. Ethan had always been surrounded by people, at work, in group chats and on social media. His calendar was filled with dinner invites, team meetings, and weekend plans. Yet in the quiet moments between notifications and laughter, he felt an emptiness he couldn't quite explain. One evening, after another seemingly fun but emotionally draining night out, Ethan sat alone in his apartment, scrolling through pictures of the evening. He saw smiles, toasts, and shared meals, yet he felt no warmth from them. It was all hollow. Why do I feel lonely when I'm never alone? He wondered. The question haunted him. He decided to step back and really understand what was happening. The nature of loneliness, a Confucian and Taoist perspective. Ethan began exploring ancient wisdom for answers. He came across a saying by Confucius: "A noble person forms connections but does not blindly follow a crowd. A petty person clings to groups but lacks true belonging." This resonated deeply. He realized his social life was filled with activity, but not with true connection. He had become part of a crowd, but he did not feel truly understood or valued. His friendships were based on convenience, not depth. Then he read from Lao Tzu's Tao Te Ching, and knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. It struck him. Perhaps his loneliness was not about lacking people, but about lacking self-awareness. He had spent so much time being busy trying to fit in that he had lost sight of his true self. Why are we lonely in the modern world? Through reflection, Ethan discovered a few reasons why loneliness was so widespread. 1. Superficial connections. Social media gives the illusion of connection, but lacks depth. He had hundreds of friends online, but few real relationships. 2. Fear of vulnerability. People, including himself, rarely opened up about their true feelings. Conversations remained on the surface. Work, TV shows, weekend plans, never diving into what really mattered. 3. Busy yet isolated. Life had become fast-paced, leaving little time for meaningful relationships. Everyone was too busy to sit and talk without distractions. 4. Comparison culture. Seeing curated moments of others' lives online made him feel like he was missing out, even though deep down he knew it was just a highlight reel. Transforming loneliness into strength, the wisdom of Lao Tzu and Confucius. Ethan decided to approach loneliness differently, not as a problem to escape, but as an opportunity to grow. 1. Embracing solitude, Lao Tzu's Taoist wisdom. Lao Tzu believed in the power of stillness and self-reflection. The Tao does nothing, yet nothing is left undone. Instead of fearing loneliness, Ethan embraced it. He stopped distracting himself with constant socializing and instead spent time in silence, reading, writing, and simply sitting with his thoughts. At first, it was uncomfortable, but soon he realized that solitude wasn't emptiness. It was space to listen to his own voice. He learned to enjoy his own company, to appreciate the moments of stillness. 2. Seeking meaningful connections, Confucian thought. Confucius emphasized deep, intentional relationships over shallow socializing. Virtue is not left alone. It is bound to attract companions. Ethan realized that instead of spreading himself thin with many acquaintances, he needed to invest in fewer but deeper friendships. He started calling people instead of just texting, meeting friends for walks instead of just liking their posts online. Instead of just talking about daily routines, he asked deeper questions. What are you struggling with lately? Or what excites you about the future? What's something you've always wanted to do but never dared? These small changes transformed his relationships. He found that when he opened up, others did too. The more real he became, the more real his friendships became. 3. Finding purpose beyond the self. Both Confucius and Lao Tzu's teachings, one of Confucius's core teachings is cultivate yourself, then harmonize your family, then govern wisely, then bring peace to the world. Ethan realized that one of the best ways to overcome loneliness was to contribute to something bigger than himself. He started volunteering, mentoring younger colleagues, and engaging in community projects. Similarly, Lao Tzu teaches the highest virtue is like water. Water benefits all things and does not compete. By helping others, Ethan found a new sense of fulfillment. Loneliness faded, not because he was surrounded by more people, but because he was connected to something greater. From loneliness to fulfillment. Months passed and something changed. Ethan still had quiet nights alone, but they no longer felt empty. He still went out with friends, but now he focused on quality over quantity. He understood that loneliness was not about being alone, but about feeling disconnected. And true connection starts within oneself. By embracing solitude, fostering deep relationships, and finding purpose, Ethan turned his loneliness into something meaningful, something powerful. And maybe, just maybe, that was the secret all along. Final reflections. What can we learn? 1. Loneliness is not about the absence of people, but the absence of meaningful connection. 2. Lao Tzu teaches us that solitude is an opportunity for self-discovery. 3. Confucius reminds us that deep, intentional relationships matter more than social quantity. 4. Purpose and contribution to others help transform loneliness into fulfillment. Loneliness is not something to escape. It is something to understand, embrace, and transform. If we learn to be comfortable with ourselves, seek meaningful connections, and serve something greater than our own isolation, we may find that loneliness was never the enemy. It was always a teacher.